Yeah, it's good to be here. And today I wanted to talk about what is God planting in you this season. So we are welcoming in the spring, right? We have some beautiful April showers this week, and maybe a little bit today. And we are welcoming in this new season, and I think spring is always a time when we can feel this sense of new beginnings in our life, right? The winter, I think, is a really good time for, just kind of chilling a little bit more, right? I mean, it's very natural, right? It's cold outside, so you want to stay in a little bit more. You don't want to go out and do as much. But it's a good time to kind of reflect. It's a very natural time to reflect on how was this past year, to think about the past, spring, and think about the seeds that I planted, what went well, what maybe didn't go so well. Also, maybe feeling like, oh, you know what, I really wish I did that, this past spring so that I could enjoy it right now. So sometimes we feel this sense of sense of regret, man. And also the winter is a time to start dreaming, right? To start thinking about the future, about this year, right? Many of us maybe have created some New Year's resolutions. Any of you guys have some New Year's resolutions? Just a few of you, okay. Well, it's not too late. Yeah, some of you maybe had New Year's resolutions and now you don't remember what they are. That's okay too. Yeah, but anyway, that's a really great time for the winter. And now that the spring is here, it's really time to start sowing our seeds, right? To start planting and to take all of those inspirations, that we've got from our looking back at our past year, from the past successes and failures and lessons, and having all that, and then starting to plant it and have it grow roots into the soil, grounded in reality, so that you can start seeing what else is possible in your life. And that's, I feel, why spring for me, I think for many of us, it's kind of an exciting time. It's a time of action. It's a time to really start taking the action now that's going to bear fruit in the months to come, in the fall and in the summer and the fall. And also, I want to share this quote from Corinthians. It says, "Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously." Right, so it's really words of wisdom from the Bible, that it is a time to reap, to sow generously, right? To not hold back. This is the time that God gave us to really plant those seeds, and it's a special time in the year that we get to do that. And of course, this Sunday is it's Easter Sunday, right? So it's a very special time that we join together with Christians from all around the world who are celebrating this day, where we reflect on Jesus's life, his ministry, his death, and his resurrection. And I think in many ways we can look at Jesus's life as a seed that God planted on this earth, right? That God wanted to plant this seed of unconditional love, of grace, of forgiveness, of faith, and ultimately of sacrifice. And while at the time, Jesus lived only 33 years, he had a short life. And by the end of his life, you might look at his foundation and think, it was a pretty small foundation. He had a handful of disciples and people that were listening to his teachings at the time, but it was pretty small if you looked at it from an objective sense. And And that's the seed, right? The seed is always this small thing that you look at it, and it doesn't look so impressive. It doesn't look so significant in the grand scheme of what else is going on in the world. But that seed went on to create the world that we know today, right? And that's one person, his teachings, his life, his example went on to create the most popular faith tradition in our whole world. It's thought that there are approximately 2.3 to 2.6 billion Christians today. Is that amazing? Even in places like China, I heard there's around 130 million Christians in China right now. And if we look at in developing nations, it might seem like Christianity, the influence of Christianity is kind of waning, but actually Christianity is still a growing religion. It's still growing rapidly in Africa, in South America, in other places of the world. And beyond the billions that ascribe to the Christian faith, there are, say, billions more that are that are receiving the benefits of Jesus's life and teachings by living in a society that has been molded by this one man's life, right? Especially here in America. Our Constitution, our founding of our nation was really based off of the Judeo-Christian framework of the world. And for us unificationists, Easter is also special because it was a time when that seed was then passed forward, right? That from Jesus passing on that seed, that mission to our Father Moon. And I want to read this passage from his memoir about that time. He says, "Early Easter morning, after I had spent the entire night in prayer, Jesus appeared before me. He appeared in an instant, like a gust of wind, and said to me, 'God is in great sorrow because of the pain of humankind. You must take on a special mission on earth, having to do with heaven's work.' That day, I saw clearly the sorrowful face of Jesus. I heard his voice clearly. The experience of witnessing the manifestation of Jesus caused my body to shake violently, like a quaking aspen's leaves trembling in a strong breeze. I was simultaneously overcome with fear so great, I felt I might die, and gratitude so profound, I felt I might explode. Jesus spoke clearly about the work I would have to do. His words were extraordinary, having to do with saving humanity from its suffering and bringing joy to God." So again, this is Father explaining this experience of kind of receiving this seed into his heart, this idea that he could be someone who could relieve God's suffering and bring joy to God, relieve the suffering of humanity. And of course, God also planted a seed in our true mother. And we could see that in her life, in her works, in her words. Similar to Jesus, her life is like a seed that God planted to show us a new perspective about God, that God is not just a heavenly Father, but also a heavenly Mother, to see that God also has this very feminine and warm love. And I truly believe that no matter what happens to her, no matter what the world tries to do to silence her or bring her down, that seed that God planted is already firmly rooted in the ground. Adieu. And just like the Christians, the few Christians that were there at Jesus's time, the foundation might have looked small. It might have seemed like it was rocky, but I believe that as time passes, That just like Jesus's, that seed that was Jesus, his life, his words bloomed and blossomed into such incredible harvest and fruit that our true parents, their life and their works in the years and decades and centuries to follow will also bloom to harvests that we cannot even imagine. Aju? So, we're talking about this, and in a sense, this is very providential. This is maybe a cosmic perspective of what God is doing in the world. But God is also planting something in all of you and in me and all of us, right? We are all a part of God's story, God's dream, God's plan. And I don't think God only works with the few chosen people, but God is really trying to work with all of his children, right? So we need to take some time to reflect on that. Reflect on, what is God planting in me right now? Yes, God is doing many things in the world. God is doing many things through our movement. But what about me personally? What is God trying to say to me? What is the seed that God is trying to plant in my heart? Maybe it's a desire that you feel, a desire to create something, a desire to do something. Maybe it's a vision, something that you could just see inside of your mind when you close your eyes and you see it, and it's just so beautiful, and you feel pulled and called to create that. Or even just simply an idea that is just keeps coming up, keeps popping itself into your mind. You ever have those things? They just don't seem to go away. Maybe that's a seed that God is actually trying to plant inside of your heart and inside of your mind. It could be something in your personal life. It could be a seed about who you could become. It could be a seed about your character, about habits that you could develop and build. It could be a seed about your health, about what your physical health could be like, or about new abilities that you could develop, new education that you can gain. Maybe there are relational seeds about, what my relationships could be, the relationship that I have with my spouse, with my family, with my friends. It could be about the relationship with my community, or the kind of community I'd like to live in, or kind of community I'd like to create. Or there could be seeds about things that you could do, things that you can create, right? It could be business ideas. It could be music ideas, art, building, construction, working on developing your environment. All of these are seeds that God plants in our heart. So I want to share a few things that I feel God has been planting in my heart personally. Ooh, what is that? This was a mistake. That was not supposed to be there. No, I'm just kidding. So this is what is called kombucha. Anyone ever heard of kombucha? Yeah. So I just got this inspiration that I want to learn how to make kombucha. So I looked into it and found some videos, and I started my first brew of kombucha. Kombucha is kind of a fermented tea, for those of you who don't know. It's supposed to be really good for your gut. And we've been drinking a lot of seltzer in my family. And I was like, you know what? We could just make seltzer at home with kombucha. So I got inspired about this. And this is what it looks like so far. I don't know if this is a success or not yet. Just so you know, this might be one of those seeds that don't quite make it. But that's okay. I'm still learning, and I know it'll look like that at some day. Interesting thing is when God plants a seed in your heart, all of a sudden, all of your YouTube feed also becomes informational things about that. So it's one thing I do appreciate about YouTube. Another seed that I feel God is really planting in my heart is about friendship. Something that sometimes those seeds come from experiences that you have. You meet someone, you have a certain conversation, and it sparks something like, oh, I want more of this, and, as a pastor, I feel really blessed because a lot of times I do get to have these kind of very rich and deep conversations with people about what's going on in their life. And when I experience that, I always feel like, oh, wow, this is why I do what I do. This is my life. Like, this is what I want to do. I just want to have depth in relationship with people. And so I could really feel like God is planting that seed in my heart through the experiences that I'm having with our brothers and sisters here. And also fun. That's another thing. I hear Reverend Kikuchi has been playing Catan with some of our members here. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? I haven't played Catan in years. It's like, I gotta have some more fun in my life. And then, of course, another one is our own community garden. Of course, with the spring coming, it's always something that pops up in my mind, and I think a lot of us start thinking about our garden and what are we going to plant and what are we going to build there. These are some shots that I took yesterday. So you can see the garlic is doing really well that we planted last fall. And also, I don't know if you all know this, but Dominic created a greenhouse, like a functioning greenhouse in that area. Let's give that a round of applause. Pretty awesome. So there's many little seedlings growing there now, which is very cool. And we'll be, really excited to kind of get to work on that. And one idea that came up for me when I was thinking about what we want to do this year in the garden is I'd like to experiment with doing kind of a farm to table experience here at Belvedere. Maybe we won't get to that kind of high level, but just getting started, where maybe after service we are enjoying some radish soup that Chirumi made that came from the radishes we grew in our garden. Doesn't that sound good? That sound amazing. But yeah, really creating this kind of cycle of, planting the seeds, growing it, and then being able to enjoy the fruits of our garden as a community. So here are, I just wanted to share a few examples of some seeds that are planted in my heart. And I feel that, again, I'm sure there's in every single person in this room, there are seeds in your heart of visions, of ideas that God has given you to plant into this ground. So what stops us from really sowing these seeds? I'm sure we've all experienced great ideas, great visions, great plans even, that end up going nowhere, right? That, maybe they're stuck in some awesome Google Doc in your Google Drive, but never quite turned into something substantial on this earth, right? So what is it that really stops us? I think we have to look at that. And in Ecclesiastes, it says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. Read that again. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. So that basically says it all. But to kind of bring that to our modern speak, what might we say? You might say, whoever watches the news will not plant. And whoever waits for perfection will not reap. Okay? I think a big thing that stops us is we are constantly looking out at the world, at all of the uncertainty that the world likes to throw at us. There is the AI, right? AI right there. What's the point of, studying this or learning this if AI is just going to replace me anyway in 5 years? There's the uncertainty of the markets and the economy, of the competition. There is the uncertainty of the Korean government and what are they going to do to our movement, and what is the Japanese government going to do to our movement. And there are many things that are happening in the world that we cannot control. And if we are glued to our screens watching the news and just thinking about everything that is outside of my control and watching the winds go back and forth, chances are you're not spending your time actually planting those seeds that God has given you to plant. Jew? Yeah. Yeah, I think this is very real for a lot of us. And what's my next? Oh yeah, before I get there. I think there's one thing that I really want us all to remember about all of this that's going on in the world, about what's going on in Japan, what's going on in Korea, what's going on in America, what's going on in all over, all the crazy things. So, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. It will beat you to your knees. But it ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. That was taken by the great words of Rocky Balboa, for those of you who don't know. Yeah, I love it. Already, if we look out, there is some great news. We look at our brothers and sisters in Japan. There's already news that the Unification Church followers consider new organization to continue practices. This was in the Japanese newspaper. And of course, of course we're doing that. I mean, we're not just going to lay down as the world says to stop, right? We're going to get back up and we're going to keep going. And though it might have felt like the whole world was ending and things were really scary, but hey, we're still here and we're still fighting, right? And even our next generation in Japan, they're still preaching on the streets. They're still declaring boldly that they are proud to be second generation in the unification movement. And we will continue to do so and continue to also support from America as well. So no matter what happens in this world, no matter what happens, what we see in the news, just let it be noise and put your mind at what is right in front of you and plant the seeds that God has been giving you. Because, it's God's responsibility to give you that inspiration, to give you those ideas, to give you that vision. But ultimately, it is our responsibility to take those seeds and plant it on the ground. And nobody can do that but us. So, I want to close with these words. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Right? If we can do that, if we can really trust God, have faith, and plant those seeds with faith, then there is nothing that can stop us. Aju? Thank you, brothers and sisters. Let us close with a prayer. Let's join me in prayer. Most beloved Heavenly Parent, true parents, we thank you on this glorious Sunday, this Easter Sunday, Heavenly Parent. We're gathered here together as brothers and sisters from Belvedere, from Manhattan, from all over, Heavenly Parent, really coming to praise you, to express our gratitude to you, to Jesus for his life, his works, his sacrifice, for his model that he showed, that no matter what the world does, Heavenly Parent, no matter how the world wants to persecute you, that you never stop. You never stop working, Heavenly Parent. Jesus never stopped working until his last breath. He was giving the love that you wanted him to give. He was showing your heart manifest on this earth, Heavenly Parent. And our true parents have done the same. No matter what, they keep going, Heavenly Parent. They keep telling us to pray for the sake of this nation, of this world, and also for our own families and our life, God. Heavenly Parent, it's time for us to really dig deep, to listen, Heavenly Parent. Listen to what's on our hearts. God, you've put beauty, you've put inspiration, you've put love inside of each and every person here that's just waiting to be planted, waiting to be manifested, Heavenly Parent, in a very real and physical way, God. Not to just be an idea, not to be something that we can see when we get to heaven, Heavenly Parent, but that can be planted firmly on the earth, God. Heavenly Parent, I want to thank you so much that we get to be here today with these wonderful brothers and sisters. This is the fruit of our true parents. This is the fruit of Jesus. All of those sacrifices, Heavenly Parent, we get to enjoy those fruits. God, the faces, the smiles, the welcome, the hugs, the conversations that we get to have with the brothers and sisters that are gathered here in this room and beyond, God. We are so blessed. We are truly blessed people, Heavenly Parent. And there is nothing that the world can do or say that can take away that blessing, God. We thank you. We want to really determine and pledge ourselves on this day to live lives of gratitude, to live lives of sharing this blessing, this feeling that we have, God. We thank you and we love you with all of our hearts, and we trust you. We believe in you. And I pray this in gratitude and attendance to our Holy Mother Han. In my name, Justin Okamoto, a blessed family. Adieu. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And we do have a reflection question today. What is God planting in your heart, and what is one action you can take to plant it on the ground? Thank you.